Nanya waka, nanya bai, moya, moya, moya. Nanya waka, nanya bai, moya, moya, moya. Moya, 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 moya.
My name is Andrea James. I'm a Yorta Yorta Kurnai woman and the writer of Winyanboga Yurringa. It was originally a short play that was commissioned in 2012, and it's inspired by Hillis Maris and Sonia Borg's Women of the Sun, an epic mini-series that was originally broadcast on SBS and later ABC in 1981. And so originally I was briefed to write a small play that would have a fifth episode that would outlay Aboriginal women's concerns of today. So the series went up to the 1980s, and I was going to bring it from the 80s up into the noughties. So that was my job. And so to do that, I interviewed as many Aboriginal women as I know when I was living and working in Melbourne at the time on Naarm country. And so the play is really an amalgam of all of those women's experiences and stories and the themes that kind of rose up that form the core of the play. But essentially it's about 6 Aboriginal women from Yorta Yorta country, which is my father's country, who all go on a camping trip on country. And they all think they've just gone there for a family trip, but it ends up being a bigger camping trip than they'd had imagined.
I've actually known of this play for a long time. I've seen several developments of it at Carriage Works in Perth. It's a play that has been supported by many, many brilliant artists, and that means that I'm very lucky to be directing it. Hi, my name is Anthea Williams and I'm directing Winyanboga Yurringa. I read it again last year and the characters just came to life. I was so impressed by the women in this play. I really related to this piece. I related to women supporting each other, to women wanting the best for each other, to women wanting more for their sisters than they did for themselves. Women are remarkable, and I fell in love with each of these characters, and I fell in love with this community of women.
I call it an every women play. Arnie Hillis and Sonia, when they wrote Women of the Sun, each episode represents a different generation, so from pre-colonial times to colonisation, assimilation, the stolen generation. But when I interviewed all of these women, there were just so many great stories that I couldn't really bring them all into one woman, that I knew that it had to be voiced by many characters, but that they would all share these similar themes, that they were all grappling with issues of identity, issues to do with lateral violence, their relationships with men, and how they reconnect themselves back onto country when their lives have been so, disjointed and distracted and colonised in a way. They're the themes that they grapple with in the work.
Opens on Yorta Yorta country, and Nisi, played by Roxana, is centre stage, and she's digging with a boombara, a digging stick, and she's there with her niece. Her niece is 15 years old, her name is Chantal, and she is going through exactly what many 15-year-olds are going through, but worse, because she doesn't have her mother with her. But she's also very fortunate that she has Nisi. And then those 2 women are joined by their cousins/aunts. And they are Wanda, Margie and Carol. And over the course of about an hour and 20 minutes, these women's stories unfold. And they're joined by another woman, Jada, who is a stranger to them. And slowly all of their stories entwine. One of the really important elements of this play is country. All the women go onto country because they need support, they need community, they need their ancestors, they need history, they need foundations. And we've been really lucky that we've been supported by some really brilliant artists to make that happen. Isabel Hudson is the designer, and she's been supported by Danièle, who is an expert in space, thinking about how we navigate being in a space that is colonial, that is patriarchal, and how we create this Yurra space, this community space within that.
Hi, my name is Danièle Hromek, and I'm a Badawang woman of the Yuin Nation, which is on the south coast of New South Wales. I am the creative design advisor, working mainly with the set and costume, but also with cultural objects and cultural activities and other things in the play. We've sort of made it up a bit as we went along. There were some parts that were really obvious that I needed to work on, in terms of making sure that the set is understood as being country, because this is set on country. It's set in Yurra country, and they're Yurra women who are being acted in this play, and the place that they go to is a special place, and it has been for a very long time, and it needed to be understood that not only by the audience but by everybody producing the play, making the set, designing the set, understand that it's country, not just a set. And that's quite a different way of approaching design and requires a different way of thinking. And also it needed the whole company to understand what country was, because as blackfellas we talk about country often, but we don't, maybe it's very hard thing to explain, because it's an experience and a relationship. And so I've been working with the whole company to understand that this is country. Yes, it's in a set, but it needs to be understood differently. But also to help understand what is country and why is it important to Aboriginal people? How are we related to country? It's our heritage. It's where we come from. It's not only where we might feel belonging, we do feel belonging. And it's not only a place on a map that has a border, because most country is borderless in many ways, but it's a place where we can go to for healing. It's a place where we get our identity from. It's a place of connectedness. For instance, we're in Sydney now, but we're on country. We're always on country. We're on somebody's country. And when you start to think of the land like that even here in this built-up place, that this is country, you understand it differently. You understand that it needs to be respected differently. I live in the city, so I have to understand the city has country. And it's really important here. This is the first place of impact, but it's always been country. Country holds everything. It holds the trees, the plants, the animals, the humans. It supports everything. It's the container for all our knowledges, our law, our way of understanding the world. It's sort of where how we filter the world through a country lens, if you want. And so as blackfellas, when we say, who's your mob? Yes, we're referring to a group of people who have a very long relationship with country. And yes, country is land too, but it's also water, sky. It goes deep into the ground, far out into the ocean, high into the atmosphere, even up into the sky, into the stars, I mean. When you try and understand it as a much greater scheme than a piece of land, that it's sentient and it's alive, you do understand it differently and you treat it more respectfully, which is why when we're talking about connecting to country and we talk about respect, obligatory care, that we're actually talking about caring for country, because we understand it as caring for ourselves as well.
Hi, I'm Angeline Penrith and I'm playing Wanda. Wanda is a 30-year-old Aboriginal woman from the Yurra Nation. She is a mother of 6. She's a black woman from the mission. She rocks up on country with Auntie Nisi, her sisters, the cousins, in the van, ready to go on country. Wanda lives the black existence in all its forms. There's no hiding who she is. She lives on a mission, so that means she lives in an Aboriginal reserve. She lives in a small country town. She's dark. You know what I mean? So as soon as you meet her, you're going to know she's Aboriginal. You're going to know that she's a bit fiery. And, she's strong because she's got quite a few kids. So she's had to struggle on the mission raising her kids, and, you know, also she's been through some pretty bad relationships. So, yeah, that's probably her journey, is living that, you know, hard yakka life of living in poor conditions, raising her kids majority on her own, having men in her life that don't treat her very well. And, you know, she's a bit distant from her sister, so she's a little bit isolated in that sense. So returning to country isn't anything new for Wanda, but this time round, it's something that she really needs. For us, going back to country means so much. It's a place, if you're not feeling well, mental health, physically, mob will always go, you need to go back to country. You need to go and be connected to family and, you know, the land that you have belonged to since time immemorial. So, and everything that comes with that. So it's a kind of rite of passage. It's kind of something you're expected to do, to be connected.
Nanya waka, nanya bai, moya moya moya. Nanya waka, nanya bai, moya moya moya. Moya moya, moya moya.
In everyday life, you don't generally get to do this. And so even for me as an Aboriginal person, I've grown up in the city. I'm an urban blackfella, or however you want to call it. So we're not just singing language songs every day, you know. So to be able to go to work, talk about and be involved in a black family or women and get to speak language and get to weave, and, you know, it's probably a highlight.
I guess like any writer, there's bits of yourself in there for sure. I grew up on my father's country, on Yorta country, in a little town called Benalla. My dad grew up in Mooroopna, Shepparton and Mooroopna, and in many ways, you know, my writing and the theatre work that I was doing was just reconnecting me back to country time and time again, and reconnecting me back to all of my people. And so, I feel like theatre and plays can rewrite the history that's been told about us, and told about us wrongly. So it becomes more than just a play. It's not just theatre. There's ceremony that we're going through, and it's a really precious, privileged space for that to happen, and theatre is the perfect place for that.